It's underway.
Okay.
Okay, so welcome. I've gone through to the members area of ESS BIZTOOLS, so that what you have on the left-hand side here is the member product menu. There are 23 individual product packages within the system, and we are trying to add another around 3 product packages a year to the system. The most recent one has been crowdsourced funding equity raising, which we'll come back to in a moment. You can get access on the right-hand side in these individual product packages, but it's just as easy to get access just by clicking on the left-hand side. You have some feedback there.
Yeah.
Whatever you've done now is right from my end. I don't know whether it's right at your end, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
What we then have is the generic area, I suppose, sections of papers, client seminars and webinars, client mentoring.
Maybe we should go on listen only.
Oh, okay.
That's better.
Right. Okay. So what have you done? Turned off your communication with us?
I haven't done anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it seems to come and go. We'll get going while we can.
Yeah.
Very quickly then, we have sections and papers in the system. These are the ones on the right-hand side here. There are 68 sections of articles. These are targeted at small businesses, medium-sized businesses. So the ones through to 499 we've reserved for these articles for businesses. You want to see what's inside a category, just click on. And then we have the articles within there. So if you wanted to be able to talk to a client about break-even calculation, just a matter of clicking on. There's an executive summary. You get the paper, you just click on the paper. And then you have the paper that you can read and decide whether that's the one you want to give to a client. Above these double lines is the badge of the name of your firm, JVA Business and Wealth Chartered Accountants. John?
Yeah.
It'd be better if I ring you on a telephone and you can just talk back. Oh, that's we won't hear that way.
Yeah. How about we try that?
Yep.
Okay.
If you got it to go through to a
A phone? Yeah, we'll try ringing.
what's your number?
02 42
42
28
28
48
48
78.
78.
Yeah. 02 42 28 78 48.
Oh, 78
What?
7848.
No, that doesn't sound. 0242 2848
78.
7
Oh, okay, that's what you said the first time.
77
Okay, I'll ring that now. Okay,
77.
I'll ring that now. Eh?
Did I use the wrong number? Surely. 422878. Was that my mobile?
4877 is JVA. I don't know what the other number you're saying is.
Oh, I'm getting old.
Unless it's your desk phone or something.
They're saying that number's not connected.
It's 02 42 28 48 77.
Oh, 77.
My fault, Peter. Lack of sleep.
That's all right. I'll ring that now. Eh? Bye-bye.
Great.
Must be between the mobile and the main one.
You just mash them together.
My brain mashed. How do we do this?
Press the speaker at the bottom.
Hello?
Hello, you there?
Yeah, we're there. Right, we turn this off now.
Yeah.
Right. Fire away, Peter.
So what we were looking at before was the break-even calculations. So it's just a paper I picked at random. You would just download it. When the paper comes up, you can badge it at the top here above the double line. So you just put your firm name there, JVA.
Yep.
And this might be an article you send to a client. Perhaps after you talk to them about break-even calculation, want to back up your professional advice, and you can send them this and explain to them how break-even is calculated. You might even send this out to some clients trying to encourage them to come and talk to you about some extra services that they need. Okay?
Yep.
There's 570 odd papers in the system, and for every paper there's also a set of PowerPoint slides. So we just bring up the PowerPoint slides now. The PowerPoint slides were developed for webinars and seminars, but some firms use them for staff training, and also for younger accountants getting used to talking to clients. They might use it as a bit of a guidance in an interview. You can put your logo onto these PowerPoint slides, especially the first one, and just use this to have a conversation with your client. Okay? So if we go back then to the main menu, and we just go back into sections and papers, this continues like that right through. The papers are within all these headings. Once we get to 500, the articles directed at accountants. So if you accountancy, business development and training programs, there's about 30 papers contained within that I wouldn't suggest you hand to your clients. The leadership material is in a separate section, section 900. So there's categories of articles on leadership. So it's just a matter of clicking on these. These have been written by a separate consultant who a mate of mine, and he was supplying leadership training to big business and government departments after he left the army. He was a colonel, and he He then wrote this as a small business package. Most of our subscribers who utilise this use it for their own staff training, developing of their team, but some of them are delivering professional services to clients on leadership based on the material that's contained in here. So there's 9 modules on leadership. There's a set of PowerPoint slides to guide you through. Okay. So if now I might just move into this client seminars and webinars. We've got 35 seminars that are pre-prepared. Most of these have got a video or a webinar to guide you through the process, give you a walkthrough, which obviously as a subscriber you can go through and look at. Within the material there is what we call the generic area, that's the organisational material to help you prepare and run a seminar or webinar. There's a whole range of things in there, checklists, registration forms, venue booking, thank you letters to keynote speakers, all that sort of material. And then we have the seminars, webinars themselves. Do you run seminars?
Intentionally, we've done a few, not much. We're looking at doing more.
Okay. Okay, so in these seminars, some of them run for 3 hours at a time, and some of them, the first number's the number of sessions, so that one's really 9 hours, 3 by 3 hours. That's a bookkeeping one. We've left that in the system because some of our subscribers still use that. I must admit, most of these ones now only get used by firms that have got a government contract to deliver something in particular. What we found was the most popular seminars are the 1 hour seminars, and these are the ones that are numbered 1,000 onwards. So if you wanted to look at seminar on introduction to directors' duties, there's a summary of what's included. So we could go into that. And what we have there are the papers. There's 4 papers to be discussed. So if you want to have a look at corporate governance issues, the papers are there primarily to be handed out to the attendees. The PowerPoint slides, which I'll bring up next, are there to really assist in presenting the seminar or webinar. I don't think it's a good idea to stand up and just read this out. I like trying to get a conversation going as to what the issues are and to be able to use some of this material if you need be. So if we go down to corporate governance issues affecting SMEs to PowerPoint slides, so there's no chance of turning up to run a seminar and having the wrong material because it's all being put into its own little packages, both the articles and the PowerPoint slides. Okay? So that's all there, ready for you to go. There's a few new seminars to be put into the system. We've got seminars for crowdsourced funding, which at this stage are in the crowdsourced funding area, but they're also going to be put into the seminars. The other area I just wanted to show you was the client mentoring and coaching. This came about because one afternoon I got a phone call from one of our subscribers in Perth who said, help, I've got one of the best businessmen in Perth coming in to see me in a couple of hours, and I want to show him we're different, so I want to show him some of your material. So I wrapped off about 6 papers to him, and then he said, well, why don't you put it in the package so I've got to ring you next time. Perhaps next time someone comes in wanting to purchase a new business. So what we've developed is 12 modules of various activities that you might want to communicate with a client to help educate the client on the type of services that you're able to supply. Because one of the big challenges with a lot of these small, medium enterprise clients is convincing them that your firm can do more than annual accounts and tax returns, because that's all they're used to you ever doing. So we hope that by utilising this type of package, you might be able to educate them. Now, I view it as a marketing tool, but that's up to you. If you want to charge the clients for this material, you can do so. So if we go to introductory management, the one the inquiry from Perth was about was someone who was obviously an experienced person. So what we've got in this is 8 series, we've called them. Now they vary, the numbers of series. And our suggestion is that you would email this material to the client every week or 2 weeks. Have someone follow it up to see what they think and to see whether they want to make an appointment to come and talk to you about something that's been raised. So the first item is there's a letter or an email that explains to the client what this is about, why it's been sent to them. You can place this on your letterhead or obviously onto your email. It's just explaining some of the things. And what we're hopeful is this is going to lead to the client then wanting to know more. There's also a survey form within each series. Got to bring it up. Badges across the top, JVA, and you then, we're really asking the client to tell you what they think. It's very helpful or least helpful. You start getting people scoring you at 4 or 5, and you let us know because there must be something wrong with the material. What our suggestion is that when people have completed the reading of these, that you try to get that feedback and find out if they want to talk to you about a particular issue. So that's basically what the mentoring and coaching modules are about. You happy with that?
Yeah, that's good.
So there's 12 of those. There's a few more we're going to add this year. And obviously if you can think of some things we should be looking at, we'd be happy to hear. This is why I'm in this section. We produce a members alert each month, which I can't remember whether we had previously, John, or not, but we do now. This is a communication to our subscribers. It only goes to you. There is a short video, and then we have an article. And it's really trying to alert you to things that are happening, that you've got the resources within the ESS BIZTOOLS product package to be able to utilise with your clients and earn fees. So this one's on crowdsourced funding. I finished over the weekend. It was what I was doing yesterday actually when we were exchanging emails, John, is this month's edition, and which is going a bit further on crowdsourced funding, explaining how much money has already been raised since the 18th of October and what types of businesses the companies have come from, and they're from a very wide cross-section, actually. So that's just talking about crowdsourced funding. We have been running a corporate governance network, and that was just an update on how that's going, because we were selling videos for, the webinar recordings. The government intervention on debtors, we've talked about that for seems like years, so finally the Prime Minister's doing something about it. We also had an update on personal property securities register. We have a system for due diligence on personal property. And that's really an alert to say the first 7 years is now over. So those clients that went in at the very beginning, they should now be spoken to about potentially renewing that registration if that's still a risky situation with that client. I think it's an ideal opportunity to be going back to a whole segment of clients. And we've identified 3 of those in the article to talk to them about personal property securities register if they are not in the habit of registering. We produce a newsletter each month, so we've told them what was in the December one. And we have government grant deadlines, which we produce each month. And our gold package includes a product package on government grants. And there's the expiry document there. So if you want to see the Australian one, there's various deadline dates that are listed to alert you, but each state is also listed. So that's the members alert. Normally it is completed a couple of days after the second Friday of the month. The second Friday is when we upload the members' newsletter each month. So that's my fault, then I hit the wrong button. Any questions so far? Any comments?
Bigger and better than last time, I swear.
I have to do a bit of work on it.
Yeah. How often is the material updated, like technical issues, that sort of thing?
We're looking at it all every day.
Yeah.
So we're updating things all the time.
And okay.
Now, some of them, depending what they are, only looked at every year, but a lot of them are reviewed as soon as something happens.
Yeah.
So we're on the lookout.
Okay.
Our concentration of late has undoubtedly been crowdsourced funding, and I'm going to have to get back into looking at some of the other matters.
Yeah.
Keep an update, but we believe we're running a services.
And the government grants is up to date. Is there a lot happening in that area at the moment? I know that was a big area at the time that I was a member.
There's always something happening in government grants.
Yeah.
Governments, especially the state governments, run grants to suit, I think, a political agenda at times. So some of their grants come out, there's only enough funding for a couple of hundred applicants, and then they'll go off and read, and they're basically measuring how successful it is, and then they run them again, but we try to keep up with them. There's a fair bit of work for accountants who are proactive in government grants, and I'll show you the grants in a moment. I've gone on to Business Plus. This is the newsletter we produce. We're now up, I'll go down the bottom. You can access all these past editions if you wish. Some people contact us. We can let you know when various articles were published, because obviously we keep a register. Did Did you use Business Plus previously?
No, I don't think so. Doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, so we write this to enable you to badge it and send it to your clients. So it's written for a small business, medium-sized business audience. We badge it so people in your firm know where it's come from, because we're quite happy to include all of your team in the email, so we get their email addresses off you as a subscriber, so that when they receive it, they know what it is. But when you're ready to send this to your clients, you remove that badging and put your own in there. We try to run a series of articles. Some of them get continued because we don't want one newsletter to be dominated by one issue, because we're trying to make sure that a small, medium enterprise client will find something of interest for them in each newsletter. Hopefully they'll find a lot, but they might not. So we had a commentary about the Australian Business Growth Fund. Now you'll notice this newsletter is not full of taxation articles. We try to never have more than one, sometimes two articles on tax. And in fact, this article here was submitted by our tax writer for that month. I have a separate person writes the tax articles for us. We then talk about mum and dad loans, because Kate Carnell, the small business ombudsman, has indicated that they represent 26% of borrowings by SMEs. And we were linking that commentary into crowdsourced funding and saying, well, perhaps this is a reason why your clients might be interested in crowdsourced funding, because they've borrowed from their parents or their grandparents who now want to do something with that money. And perhaps being able to repay those loans might be generated by a crowdsourced funding capital raising. We've got an update there on crowdsourced funding, and we will have an update for the next few months still on crowdsourced funding. The thresholds for large proprietary companies are proposed to change from July 1, so we put that in. We talked about the PPSR, especially the 7-year initial registration period, ending basically today or tomorrow I think, 30th. We also published the PPSR top 10 million, or their registrations, to try to alert businesses that a lot of people are registering on the PPSR, but if they're not doing so, perhaps they should be thinking about it and talking to you about it. The big business getting told to pay small business promptly was a great news story, I thought, so we've included some comment on that. Good and bad news is a bit of an economic update, some customer satisfaction. Now near the end, we got attention accountants. What we found some years ago, one of our subscribers rang me one day and said, gee, your newsletters are great, but I wish I'd read it before I send it out. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, I just got my secretary to put it through the system and send them out to our clients. And then I got 2 phone calls, both on articles she'd written on export market development grant. I knew nothing about it, and he was embarrassed. And I said, well, number one, I think you should read the newsletter before you send it out. It's going out with your name on it. And but how about we'll give you a reference article to something we've put in the newsletter, so you can read that also before you send it out, or if you're getting phone calls before you talk to the client. So that's what the purpose of these attention accountants are. That's just a bit more material on some of the things we've discussed. Sometimes there's a lot more, it just depends what the articles are about. We suggest you remove that attention accountants before you send it out, and that you then you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going getting feedback. I just realised I hadn't turned down the speaker. That you then, you can fill that space. You might have a client that's won a Business of the Year award, or you might have someone that's had a baby or got married. Could be anything. You might be going to run a seminar or a webinar, and you can put those details in there. And obviously you change that last page, you can put JVA in there, so it goes out as your newsletter. Now you can edit the articles if you wish, because we've got no copyright or anything on this one, and you can add material to it if you wish. Some of our subscribers, mainly in country areas, do add 1 or 2 extra pages, because there's other things tend to be happening in some of those areas. So that's the newsletter. Now we upload that to our website on the 2nd Friday of every month. So the next edition is available on the 8th of February, and it's uploaded at 12 noon Australian Eastern Standard Time, so 1 p.m. daylight saving time, and then you can use it to send it to your clients. And if you give us, as a subscriber, the email addresses of your team, we will email it to them, because we just do a mass mail out to the people in the database of recipients of the newsletter. And that way they've all seen it, and I think it's a way of communicating to your entire team what's going on in this whole business advisory space, because that's obviously what we're concentrating on talking about, everything and anything to do with business matters, which in my opinion falls under business advisory. Okay?
Yep, good.
As I said, you can go back to past issues and check on that if you wish. Crowdsource funding, we might just go to there. You'll see this, John. I don't know whether Jenna and Jacqueline have.
No, they haven't.
Okay, so this is, and I'm showing you this now as an example of one of our product packages, if I can, because I want to move into government grants as well. So this is a list of what's in the crowdsource funding product package. So there's a whole range of materials. What we call BAS stands for Business Advisory Services, not that other BAS. It's a whole series of articles. So how it works, every product package has a procedure control form, is what we call it. So if we click on that, and don't worry about the numbers. If you want to use the numbers yourself to find things, you can. They're mainly our references, because there's thousands of documents in the system now. You're trying to keep track of everything. You can badge at the top of this page that this is an internal article, but it's probably still not a bad idea to badge it. We give a bit of an overview of what this product package is about. So the product package includes some training material to get your team ready to be able to utilise it. Then it includes some marketing material. Every one of our product packages now has marketing material, because I think that's very important. And it's a step that a lot of accountants forget about, or assume that their client knows something about, or knows that you're interested in this work. I do a fair bit of consulting to SME type businesses, mainly for government grants that they've received, and a lot of them do not know what their accountant does, I can assure you. So this is part of the marketing side of it, is making sure you're communicating with your client. So we've got these first 5 sections, which are really the getting ready, the preparation, marketing, promotional material, quotation and proposal, a summary of what crowdsource funding is all about, the corporate governance concessions. I assume will not apply to any of your clients unless they were already in the corporate, the crowdsource funding before the 18th of October 2018, and that's just how the benefits they had then have been phased out because of the new regime of private companies. So this material package that then rose that we've called roadmap references step 1 through to 12 all applies to the new regime, which is that a proprietary limited company with a turnover under $25 million, and a couple of other things, can qualify as being eligible to raise capital without having to become an unlisted public company. Okay?
Yep.
So then we go through it. You can click on to any of these items in blue. Just click on it. We'll take you to them. So the whole idea is, first of all, get ready, do some reading before you start even thinking about talking to clients, obviously. So that's just linking to some articles we've written on crowdsourced funding. Then there's a summary of the marketing material. So we've tried to think of everything. We have an eligibility matrix, which I'll show you in a moment. Then we have a seminar, webinar that's prepared, and we have an article you might put on your website, an article you might send to clients, a news release that you could send to the Wollongong newspaper. Illawarra or something, isn't it?
Laura Mercury.
That's right, yeah. My father's hometown's Wollongong, so my grandmother used to send us up the paper many years ago. I remember that. To keep him informed of what was happening in his hometown. So that's a news release. Suggested video, you could produce to social media. So we've produced a video, and our suggestion is, well, why don't you produce something similar and put on to social media? Someone said they were going to put the one I produced. I said, you are joking, aren't you? It's got to be you on it, not me. And then we've got the matrix, so we might just go to that. So this is the client matrix, which hopefully will help you identify whether a client might be potentially eligible. And my recommendation is, after you've done the training material, this is where you start. You sit down internally and go through your clients and say, okay, put the name of the company. Have they got their turnover under 25 million, their gross assets under 25 million? They're not listed on a stock exchange or a financial market, and they're just not going to put it into the bank and play with the money. That's what that last one basically means. Now, we've then put there, the age doesn't matter, neither does the business or industry. So that people ring me up and saying, what age have they got to be? They're getting mixed up with the early stage companies. They're not. And then we've identified some characteristics. In fact, there's another document to go here because we're now up to 10 key characteristics. And we're about to add to this list an example of the type of business operations that the initial companies that have already raised capital. And according to my extraction from some of the intermediaries' websites on Friday, $13.4 million has been raised. Now, only 3 of them disclose any information, the others don't. And I'm trying to get them to all agree to give us some information. If they don't want to disclose it, that's their business, I suppose, but it's a great marketing tool. So but the interesting thing is having a look at what business backgrounds these businesses are from, and they're right across the shelf. They're all types of things. But I think one of the key characteristics could be one of these things. Someone that's an ambitious company, they want to grow, or wanting to expand, or wants to acquire other businesses. And you pick this up in your conversation with these clients. Or if they've got a big audacious idea. Now, obviously, that idea has got to be able to be documented, and it's got to be realistic to attract investors to. As the CEO, you've got an exciting vision. I don't think anyone's going to raise capital unless they exhibit some excitement, some flair, some real keenness to do something different in their businesses. But they've also got to be able to accept they're going to work with a whole group of other people who are investors, and they're going to have a board of directors that's got to have at least 2 members on it. But preferably, if they raise some capital, there should be 1 or 2 other directors, I think, so they can get some benefit out of that board experience. Maybe they've got debts they'd like to repay. It might be that mum and dad type debt we talked about before. They might have a succession problem that they could do with a cash injection to enable the succession to start occurring for the founder to retire or partly retire. Or they could be someone that's invented a new product, process or service that the company's aged over 3 years, or their turnover is over 200,000, or their turnover is over 200,000, or their expenditures over $1 million. They are not eligible for the early stage innovation company status. They're ideal for this area. So I think if you start thinking about it, you might be surprised how many clients you find in these categories. And then what's the action? Now our suggested action, which we're now going to go back to, is that you invite them in for a seminar or a webinar. Okay? Anyone got any questions on that? I'm just going to have a mouthful of coffee, if you don't mind. So.
No, go ahead before it goes cold. Not at this stage. Jenny? Jacqueline? Jenny?
Did you think of any clients that might fit those categories?
Oh, look, I've already had some preliminary discussions because we're in the process of having what's called our touch-based meetings with clients where we just have a chat.
Oh, yeah.
And there's been a few clients who have expressed interest. I've just introduced it because I haven't done all the reading yet. But certainly it's already raised interest. So I think there's definitely some people who would be keen. But looking at that list certainly broadens the use of it. Just refresh my memory, what do the investors get in exchange?
Ordinary shares.
Yeah. So with all categories, profit, capital and voting rights.
Oh yeah, they're ordinary shareholders.
Yeah. So you're in effect
like anyone else. So one of the key calculations that's got to be done is how much capital you're trying to raise, making sure that the current shareholders, who are undoubtedly the founders, have got their shareholdings sorted out in the company before you go down this path. So that if you go to the market to raise 500,000 and you think they're only going to have a 25% interest, that there's already another, whatever it is, 800 million shares issued, so that you don't get caught out like that. But it's the early stage innovation company that the investor gets some extra benefits. That they're that special category of under 3 years of age, expenditure under $1 million and income under 200,000, who develops a new product, process or service. The investor there gets a 20% tax offset up to an offset of $10,000 because the maximum investment there for a retail investor is $50,000. But a sophisticated investor is encouraged to go into that type of company and they can get a $200,000 offset. So that is on the basis they might invest $1 million. Now that market's going reasonably well, and that's in the material you would get as a gold subscriber. There's a product package there on it.
Yep.
And I think you should be also being very observant of any of your clients who might fall into those categories, because it was deliberately done by the government to make them attractive to investors. Because in crowdsourced funding, all the investor is getting is an ordinary share. Okay, so there's a bit of other marketing material there we've gone back to, so you can now click onto that on articles. An article we call Improving Your Bottom Line, which we produce periodically on a particular subject. So the whole idea of that is that's something you could email to your clients. There's some material there on starting a social media campaign. So we think the marketing is very important. We have got the quotation and proposals in here. We started doing that when we started on these product packages 6 or 7 years ago. Some people were not preparing quotations and proposals, even though the Institute said they should have been. But we've prepared them and we've continued to do so. It's up to you whether you use them, of course, or whether you use your own. Then there's some background material which you would team should go through first, and some of this you may give to your clients if you wish, to make them aware of if there is an issue, a cap, the retail investor can only invest $10,000 per company per annum. So if they want to go to the market and invest $100,000, they can, but it's got to be over at least 10 companies. Incidentally, the average investments at present, according to the intermediaries' websites, when I analyse them, is around $2,400. So there's a lot of investors coming in, I assume at around $50 to $100. Some of the intermediaries have now got minimum investments of $250 or $150. But the legislation doesn't nominate a minimum amount. It could be $1.
Are there any limitations as to who can invest? And I guess probably where my mind's going is if you had a bunch of unrelated self-managed super funds.
Yeah.
You know, can a self?
They're all right.
Yeah.
They're all right. When I said yes, I nearly bit my tongue there. There are some limits of listed public companies can't acquire shares in these companies.
Yeah.
And that's where the limitations are in that sort of space. But no, you could have half a dozen or a dozen if you want to do unrelated super funds. In fact, I think you could have them if they were related. I don't see any problem with that. As long as they're not part of a public company establishment.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of the sole purpose test, obviously. Wouldn't be able. Anyway.
Well, that's the super fund trustee's decision, nothing to do with the company, is it?
That's correct.
Obviously, the trustees, in all this, the trustees have got to think through. However, I had a look at one of the intermediaries' affiliate list, they call it, which is their investors, and they had 30,000 names on it, probably nearly a year ago. And a significant number were superannuation self-managed super funds that were their potential investors. So self-managed super funds are getting into this market. Okay, so we then go through the steps. So we've got the steps set out there. And what we're trying to do here, and we are going to do following the series of webinars we've been conducting, I've had a few other thoughts just to tighten this up a bit. What we're suggesting is that you identify some clients that you think fit the categories, and invite them to come to a seminar or webinar if that's more convenient. But you also put the material we've written that you then badge or do something along the same lines and put on your website, so the public at large, if they go to your website, can see that you're going to be proactive in crowdsource funding. That you send the media release appropriately badged and personalised with your name, John, and firm name, obviously, JVA, to the Illawarra Mercury, so that, or any of the suburban papers that they're more cooperative. You might get some other people there because you'll probably pick up businesses that are currently clients of other firms who are not being proactive in this space. And my suggestion is you would use that seminar as a marketing tool. You'd run a free seminar to give them an overview of what's on. About an hour, cup of coffee, beer if you want to, wine if you want to at the end, but basically, and find out who they are and try and get some communication. Then contact them and get their feedback. Are you interested in getting more information on crowdsource funding? If they've got some basic questions, you can answer them then, and then you'd say, okay, we're now going to send you a proposal. Now, what I now intend to do is to break the proposals down a bit so that there's, in effect, a preliminary overview, which we'll cover this first area. We've determined whether they're going to be eligible under the matrix, and we discuss some of these face some information with them and find out whether they're they're interested, and that could be a kick-off point, if you like. If the client then says, no, I'm not interested, you might have billed them a couple hundred for 1 or 2 hour interview at that stage, and that's it. They pay you, honestly, you told them all that up front, you've just given them the engagement letter. But you could then move on and say, okay, let's now look at what's got to go into this offer document, because the offer document is basically a prospectus and has a lot of disclosure, especially if they've had some issues with ASIC in the past. It's all going to be disclosed, and they've got to realise that this is then going to go into the public domain. Some people won't worry, but others might get worried about that. So that might be another point where you could, in effect, bill them and say, well, we looked at all this, and obviously you've changed your mind. But then you keep on going. We then go into the investor category so they understand what the investors are doing. And then we get seriously start talking about the role of the intermediary. Because they need to understand who this mystical person called an intermediary is, or what the organisation is, and they're all businesses, of course. And more particularly what their duties, powers and responsibilities are, but with great emphasis on their powers, because they need to be spoken to. You need to get a proposal from them and sign a contract with them, but they're also the adjudicator, they're also the gatekeeper, which was the then Treasurer, now Prime Minister's comments when he introduced this legislation into Parliament. They are the gatekeeper. So they have a promotional role, which is very obvious when you go on and look at some of the websites now. Some of them are doing a very good job, I think. Far better than what I thought they'd be doing. ASIC is obviously, I think, and I'm told by talking to some of the intermediaries, has been convinced to be a bit more lenient than what they originally intended to be, and are allowing webinars to be produced, videos to be produced, public presentations to be held. Their key worry is that the investment warnings are being issued all the time, and that all investments are made through the intermediary's website. The intermediary also, sorry, I'll rephrase that. The client also needs to understand that they can negotiate with intermediaries. They can go to all of them, and there's now 13 I've discovered. But ASIC seems to be releasing the names like it's on a secret list, and I'm trying to get the actual list from them at present. So this then takes you through the process that we then go into the preparation of the crowdsource funding offer document. This is the big task for you in making sure this is all put together in accordance with the legislation. The intermediary will definitely want an input into this because they want it to be very attractive and a very promotional document if they've agreed to take on your client. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's how, so you can see what we're doing there. We're working through the process. We're trying to do it.
Quick question, Peter. With the intermediaries, do they all have the same parameters and criteria that ASIC's established, or does each intermediary have their own?
Under the law, they're all the same. So under their agreement with ASIC, they've got the same licences, so there's no special categories from ASIC. What they have then done, though, is they got, when you look at their websites, they are obviously all independent, different businesses. And some of them are wanting to be in specialised areas like health and medicine. So that's their prime concentration. So I think if you took an engineering construction business to them, they would probably say, well, no, that's not really what we're interested in, because our investors are more interested in health and pharmaceutical type matters.
Yeah, I guess probably where I was coming from was, if they had different criteria, could you shop between them, so to speak?
Most definitely. Most definitely. So what we're in our material there, it's saying here's a checklist, and you as the accountant, we're saying you are the key guy, and this is talking to the client and saying, well, let's go off now and interview either by Skype or go and visit them, but they are now situated in at least 4 capital cities. So there's at least 4 in Sydney. There's probably more because ASIC's released a further 6 intermediary contracts, but I don't know where they are. I'm trying to fact them. In fact, I do. I found where 2 of them are. So there's at least 6 now in Sydney. So you would then talk to them, and because they can charge whatever fee they want to charge to you. Now, the average seems to be between 6 and 8% of the capital raised, but I did come across one the other day that's charging 4%, but the capital to be raised is $4 million. That's the target.
Yeah.
They're also able to charge some upfront fees. Now, to be honest, I can't find it in the legislation, but they tell me ASIC's agreed to this. I suspect in the contracts that they will give a credit in most cases. And again, a lot of this depends on how much capital's raised, therefore how much their fee is going to be. But it's to the mobilisation fee or the getting started fee or whatever you want to call it. They also want videos produced, and they want an attractive document produced. So they've got some suggestions on hiring a designer. Now they've got their own, but none of them are saying you've got to use ours. If the client's got someone that can do the job, undoubtedly they will be saying this is the standard, we think it should be at. And that's so that they can send the offer document out if they wish to people.
Okay.
So it's this whole process is a little bit better than, well, a lot better than what I thought it was going to be when I just read the legislation and started writing all this material, because no one was doing anything then. But they are reasonably experienced. One of them, Equities, is also in New Zealand, in Auckland. So they've had 6 years experience in the New Zealand market, because the Kiwis have had this for 6 years. And I think their website's the most explanatory, and that's probably because they've already been doing it. One of them claims they've got some sort of affiliations with a UK company, and perhaps they're getting hints from them how to do it. But it's a whole new ball game. I think this is very exciting stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, look, so do I. I think it's got a lot of potential use. Look, it's now just after 5. In the interest of time, because we can go through in more detail the cloud source funding stuff. But I've got Jenna and Jacqueline here. If you could just touch on the grant just quickly, and then we might let it run from there, just to give them an indication. No, that's fine. I know how excited and enthralled you are by the whole, and we could keep on talking about it. I mean, the seminar was good. And there's a lot of material there.
Okay, I've now clicked across the ESS BizGrants. This is on a separate website, so you receive a separate login and password for this site.
Yep.
Because it's completely different, as you will see.
Yeah, it's a full program, isn't it? Answer a question, move on to the next bit.
Yeah, I'm just going
It's quite good for memory.
through one. I got some prepared ones there. I'll pick on one of those.
Yeah, just a simple one.
Just go into it. When you go into it, there's some explanations as to what all the terminologies mean. They're pretty straightforward. The big thing is the client profile. I'll show you a blank one first of all, and then we'll move on. So you have to insert the business name, but you can put a number if you wish. We need to know the entity. So what we have done is gone through all the grants. There's hundreds of them, both federal, state, New South Wales, Victoria, Northern Territory, a lot, and have analysed what type of entity the grant is for. Some grants don't mention entities, but many do their target of that. So we've identified what they are. So there's the big list there, but you need to identify which one applies.
Are they still antitrust?
No, the Oz industry in particular has moved on from that.
Oh, good.
They will now accept trust as long as it's got a corporate trustee.
Yep.
for most things.
Because I remember when we had it last time, and it is going back a few years now, if you had a trust, it was just no. You didn't go past step one.
Yeah, the bureaucracy do not like trusts. I think I've probably told you before. I was a consultant to Oz Industry, our
Yes.
consulting business, for 11 years on the commercialising emerging technology program. There were 12 of us handled Australia, all private enterprise guys. And dealing with those bureaucrats in Canberra, I could write 2 books on it, I think. And they don't like trusts, I can assure you. I sat down one night in Canberra and said to this supervising manager, do you really understand trusts? Let me get a whiteboard and I'll show you how they work. And she would not have it, I tell you. It was quite interesting. She thought they were just rip-offs. Anyhow, do you export? We want to know that. So if you answered yes to that, our system is tracking that because there's a few other little things for exporters which will then pop up in the report. Do you import? We need to know the number of employees. These days it's full-time equivalents. And so they're the bands that coincide with the various grants. They need an ABN, so we need a yes as an answer there. The years operating are also important. 12, 15 years ago, a lot of grants were for startups. These days, it's shifted quite significantly. The majority of grants are now for over 3 years. But we also need to know the turnover. So there's the turnover bands, because things like, well, the R&D changes at 20 million, as you know, so we've got a 20 million category. The export market development grant changes at 50 million. So there's something at 30 million. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. So they're the bands, and all you do is just click in whatever band applies to that particular client. They need to be registered to GST, otherwise they won't get a grant. Tax exempt. The 99% of the grants in our system do not apply if you are tax exempt, but there's a couple of state-type grants around Australia that are now allowing tax-exempt businesses. I don't know why, but they are. So we've got them in there. And the R&D question here is really nothing to do whether they're a company or whether they're spending over 20 grand a year on R&D. It's just, are they doing research and development? Because I think they need to have, if they're doing some R&D, they're probably eligible or potentially eligible for some of the other grants that we want to show you. So that's all that's about. So let me pick up one that's already been completed to a certain extent. It's a test client, and I've done this one to death, and I'm going to give you a new one. But so we started this. We called it Test Client Pty Ltd. If you want to, some accountants don't like their client names being in the cloud. So you put a number on this if you want to. This one's a company. They do some export. They don't import. They've got 16 employees. They've been going in business for 6 years. They had turnover of about 6 million. So we've done all that. And they were doing a bit of R&D. We've put the address in already. The main thing in the address is the postcode, because the postcode then decides what region they're in, and there are some benefits for some of the regions. So that tells us that, and that's all linked into the system. Financial is just a repeat of what you put in. The next big thing you've got to worry about is the business industry code. That is normally the code you put on the tax return, but it doesn't have to be. There's no cross-check done by the grant people within a government department to what you put on the tax return. And at times I've found that the tax return industry code's out of date. What a business did 20 years ago and what it's doing today can be completely different. You can put as many codes in as you like. The maximum I've seen someone sent me was 25. That must have been a very complicated business. I think they were just seeing how many they could put in, to be honest. That's all right. It took 25 all right. And they're just the tax office codes. You can put in the keywords if you want, and we'll do the same thing. So at that stage, we're ready to search the brands. So that whole process hasn't taken that long, a few minutes, put that information in. Now, we've already worked on this one, so potentially ineligible tells us that this client's not eligible, that grant wasn't eligible, so that's one. and we've got 13 there that are potentially eligible, so 14, and we've still got 15 in pending. So that's where you normally start, 15. So when we started, this one had 29 grants in it, and I'll just try. Now this was a Queensland company. Let's try to find something that might be Innovation Connection. I don't know anything about this grant. So we'll go into it, Innovation Connection. What you get when you first click on is an executive summary of what the grant's all about. And you can, so if you've got this printed up for your client, so you will have your client put into the system, and you say, oh, okay, that's what that one's all about. Yeah, he might be interested in that. If you want to know the funding, click on the funding. And it's not specified. It's one of these strange ones now. The government makes up their mind, so it's probably not a good connection. If we go to the toolkit, though, the toolkit's got the paper that we've written on the grant. And so this is one where you put in your application, the government will then tell you what you might get. So it's not a straightforward one, but it's there. And we have a form here to assist in working out how much time it might take to do the application if you're going to do the application. So this is all divided so you can go through and work out your units. But the main purpose of this is to make sure you understand what's involved in doing an application.
Yeah.
Because some of them do go on a bit, especially some of the state, and the federal ones. Now, there's always some additional criteria. So there's the questions on the additional criteria, which you've got to go through and read and answer. Now, if you answer them the correct way, it will then close it and take you through. And as we're in a bit of a hurry now, we'll just ignore that. And I'll show you the ones that have been completed. Is that okay?
That'll be good.
So the ones that have already been completed are potentially eligible. So if you want to go back and see what this is all about, you just do the same thing. You can go back into it. You can change it. Back down to this funding area. We won't bother about that now. So we've done that and we say, no, that's all right. We want to give a report to the client. So you just click on this print report. It will then come up with the name of your client. It will then say JVA Business and Wealth Chartered Accountants, and it will have today's date on it. The date you prepared it. It will tell the client that we've identified 13 potential grants. It gives that brief synopsis on the grant. The fine print is saying to the client they've got to go through the application process, and there can be many reasons why they might not be successful. So they go off and start spending the money now, sort of thing. So there's the report. So the concept is that you can be sitting down talking to your client and present this report to them, and basically then say, what's up? We've produced this for you. Are you interested in making an application? In my experience, 95 to 99% of clients will say yes. Some people just hate dealing with government departments and won't have anything to do with it. If you know that, well, I wouldn't even bother doing it in the first instance.
Yeah.
You know, you're fine. Then the decision, so the client says, yeah, I'm very interested. Thank you very much. Most of them are very appreciative that you've shown the initiative. You've been a proactive firm and done this work for them. So then the decision is who's going to do the application. Well, again, I think it's in 90% of the time, in my experience, they will turn around and say to you, will you do it for us? I think it's another fee for service. You're going to bill them for it. Some might do it themselves. Some might have a mate that's going to help them. But in the main, they will be asking you to help them on the application. That's why we've got that checklist to help on applications. It's primarily in there for you as a subscriber to be able to use. Now, once the application goes in the first instance, out of that 13 grants, sitting with the client, you might chop that back a bit and say, okay, we're going to apply for 6 of them. There will be some communication then start coming from the government departments concerned, and the case managers or brand officer or whatever they're called will want to talk to the client, so the client needs to understand that they're going to be required for some input. From your point of view, then, the next opportunity for a fee is that a significant amount of these grants have got work that proactive accounting firms offering advisory services can undertake. It can be in business plans, it can be budgets and cash flows, it can be cash debtors management overviews, it can be in mentoring and training management team members. I've done a few of those over the years. They're normally 6 to 12 months appointments. It could be a company director mentoring type role, which I've had a few times, training younger directors what they should do. So it does open up the opportunities to be able to do a significant amount of work for your clients that your client's receiving 50% of it paid by a government department.
Excellent.
So that's an overview
It's good,
of our gold product. I hope that will enable you to understand it a bit better and achieve your goals in your business, John and Jenna and Jacqueline. Any questions?
Interesting.
No, there's so much there. It's terrific.
I'll let you go now. You can go down and have a surf on that wonderful Wollongong beach.
No, I've got a board meeting to go to at 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
I want to go home and have a shower first, so I reek. I drove up to Moss Vale and then back. Lucky we did postpone it. I didn't get back till 3 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah, nice drive. You getting rain down there?
No, it was 38.5 degrees at Moss Vale.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty hot.
Okay. It's a nice area, that Moss Vale, all that round.
Yeah, it is. All right, look, thank you very much.
I look forward to
I'll have
hearing
a chat
from
with
you,
the girls tomorrow and we'll get in contact with you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Bruno.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good night. Bye.